What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It didn't mean anything. She pleaded after I saw the DMs, so I made sure she stayed in Vegas. She quit her job to follow him, and he dumped her a month later. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I found the pictures on a Tuesday. Qley was in the shower, singing some pop song at the top of her lungs, completely oblivious to the fact that her world and mine were about to implode. Steam curled out from under the bathroom door, carrying the scent of her expensive coconut shampoo. It was a normal morning, the kind we'd had 1,000 times before. I was making coffee, scrolling through news headlines on my phone, waiting for my turn in the bathroom. The laptop on our kitchen table, a shared MacBook we used for everything from streaming movies to paying bills, chimed with a soft, distinctive ping. A notification bubble slid into the top right corner of the screen. It was an Instagram DM reply from Jason.vsgre. Smiling face with hard eyes. That night was legendary. When are you coming back? My blood didn't run cold. It didn't boil. It just stalled in my veins. The name was unfamiliar. The tone was intimate. And Qley was supposed to have been on a girls' trip in Vegas just last weekend with her friend Sarah. Curiosity, that fatal flaw, made me put down my phone. I told myself it was probably nothing. A comment on a group photo. Sarah's flirty friend. Something innocent. Her Instagram was already open. She'd forgotten to log out. My finger hovered over the trackpad for a second, a silent debate between trust and a gnawing dread. I clicked. The DM thread with Jason.vsg loaded. It wasn't a long conversation, but it was a gut punch. It started with a photo she'd sent him. Her, face flushed, eyes bright with alcohol, pressed against a guy with slicked back hair and a too-tight shirt, Jason. His arm was wrapped possessively around her waist, his hand low on her hip. The caption from Qley read, "Still thinking about my favorite Vegas souvenir winking face." He'd replied with a fire emoji and, "You were the souvenir, baby. When are you coming back?" And then, the message that had just come in, the one I'd seen in the notification. Smiling face with hard eyes. That night was legendary. When are you coming back? But it was her reply, sent just last night after she'd gotten home. After we'd ordered takeout, and she'd told me she was too tired from the flight to do anything but watch Netflix. That made the floor feel like it was tilting. Qley, soon, I hope. This place is so boring now. Already missed the excitement. Face blowing a kiss. Boring. The word echoed in the silent kitchen, drowning out the sound of the shower. I've been so boring lately. A memory flashed, unbidden. From a month ago. We'd been talking about our future, about maybe saving for a house. I'd been laying out a careful, practical budget. She'd sighed, a long, weary sound. Can't we just live a little, Mark? You always play it so safe. The thread had more. A short, blurry video she'd sent him of them dancing, his hands all over her. A message from him that said, "Think your boyfriend would mind if I stole you for good?" Smiling face with horns, her response was a winking emoji. Nothing more. Nothing less. It was an affirmation. The numbness set in then, a thick, insulating blanket between me and the rage and hurt that were screaming somewhere deep inside. It was a bizarre, out-of-body calm. I slowly closed the laptop. The click of it shutting felt final, like a coffin lid. I looked around the apartment we'd shared for 2 years. The framed photo of us hiking on the wall. The throw blanket she'd insisted we needed draped over the couch. The 2 coffee mugs sitting side by side on the counter. It all looked like a stage set now. Props for a play that had just ended in a tragedy I didn't know I was acting in. The shower shut off. The singing stopped. In a minute, she would come out, wrapped in a towel, skin pink from the hot water, and she would smile at me. She would ask if I remembered to get half and half for the coffee. And I would have to figure out how to speak, how to form words, when the foundation of everything I believed about us had just been vaporized. The betrayal wasn't just the physical act in Vegas. It was the lies. The casual disrespect. The messages sent from our home, from the couch where we cuddled, calling our life, my life, boring. I poured a cup of coffee I knew I wouldn't drink. The steam rose, a ghost of the normal morning we were supposed to have. I waited. The doorknob to the bathroom turned. The bathroom door opened, and Qley emerged in a cloud of steam, wrapped in a towel with her hair piled up in a messy bun. She smiled, a fresh, clean smile that didn't match the filth I'd just seen on the screen. God, that felt good, she said, padding over to the kitchen. I needed that. Is there coffee? I just watched her. The numbness was still there, a protective shield, but beneath it, a cold, sharp clarity was forming. I didn't hand her the cup I'd poured. I just nodded toward the pot. She frowned slightly as she poured her own, sensing the silence was different. Heavier. You okay? You're quiet. I took a slow breath. My voice, when it came out, was flat. Calm. It didn't sound like my own. How was Vegas, Qley? Really? She froze for a fraction of a second, the coffee carafe hovering over her mug. Then she forced a light, airy laugh. It was fun. I told you. We went to clubs, saw a show, it was wild. Sarah was a mess. She took a sip, not meeting my eyes. Why? I reached out and turned the laptop screen toward her. The Instagram DM thread was open again, the photo of her and Jason staring back at us. It looks it, I said. Who's Jason? The color drained from her face. Her mug hit the counter with a sharp clack, coffee sloshing over the rim. The shock lasted only a second before it was replaced by a flash of pure, indignant anger. You were spying on me, she shrieked, her voice cutting through the morning calm. You went through my messages? That's a fucking violation of my privacy, Mark. The hypocrisy was so breathtaking it almost broke my calm. Almost. Your privacy? I kept my voice low even. You're tagged in a public post with him, Qley. Sarah posted a whole album. It wasn't hard to find. You just didn't think I would look. She flinched, her eyes darting around as if looking for an escape route. The anger deflated, quickly replaced by a panicked, manipulative plea. She hugged her towel tighter around herself. Okay, look, okay. It was one night, she said, her words tumbling out in a rush. It was the last night. We were drunk. It just happened. It didn't mean anything. God, Mark, it's Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It was just a stupid mistake. I said nothing. I just watched her, letting the silence between us grow. I let her sit in the space where her excuses echoed, hollow and pathetic. She misread my silence for weakening. She took a step closer, her voice softening into a wheedling tone. If you really loved me, you'd understand. I came home to you, didn't I? He was just exciting. Different. You've been so boring lately, with your budgets and your plans. It was a moment of weakness. You're going to throw away 3 years over a moment. Boring. There it was again. The word she'd used in her DM. It was the key that unlocked the final door of my doubt. This wasn't a mistake. It was a reflection of how she truly saw me. I was the safe, boring placeholder until something exciting came along. That's when the last thread of hope snapped. The clarity was absolute. I stood up. The movement was slow, deliberate. She took a half step back, startled by the quiet finality in my posture. I think you should go stay with your sister for a few days, I said, my voice still terrifyingly even. Her jaw dropped. What? Are you breaking up with me? Over this? The indignation was back, mixed with disbelief. She genuinely couldn't comprehend it. She thought it didn't mean anything. Excuse was a get-out-of-jail-free card. I need you to leave now, I said, walking toward our bedroom. We can talk about the rest later. The rest of what? Mark, look at me, she demanded, her voice rising again. Are you serious? You're kicking me out. I stopped at the bedroom door and finally turned to look at her. I let her see the complete absence of anger in my eyes. Just a profound, unbridgeable distance. You made a choice. Now I'm making mine. Please be gone by the time I'm out of the shower. I walked into the bedroom and closed the door, not slamming it, but with a soft, definitive click. I heard a muffled sob of fury from the kitchen, followed by the sound of her mug shattering against the wall. I didn't flinch. I just turned on the shower, the water drowning out the sound of the life we'd built together breaking apart in the next room. The hot water felt like nothing on my skin. I was already gone. The sound of the front door slamming shook the apartment. I stood in the shower until the water ran cold, the initial adrenaline shock giving way to a deep, bone-aching exhaustion. But there was no time for that. The calm that had gotten me through the confrontation was now a cold, focused engine. I got out, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, and surveyed the damage. The kitchen wall was streaked with brown, and shards of the ceramic mug she'd thrown were scattered across the floor. It was a perfect, violent metaphor for our relationship's end. I didn't clean it up. Not yet. First, I had to ensure she could never make a mess here again. I started with her things. I wasn't cruel or vindictive. I didn't throw her clothes on the lawn or cut up her dresses. That would have required an emotional investment I no longer had. Instead, I worked with the detached efficiency of a removalist. I gathered her clothes from our shared closet, folding sweaters and stacking jeans neatly into cardboard boxes I retrieved from the storage locker. I cleared her makeup from the bathroom counter, her books from the shelf, the specific brand of tea she liked from the cupboard. Each item was a relic from a past life. The framed hiking photo went into a box marked Chloe Misk. I left it on top. It took most of the day. By evening, all traces of her were contained in 6 sealed boxes stacked neatly by the front door. The apartment looked sparse, anonymous. It already felt less like a home and more like a way station, which was exactly what it had become for me. The next task was surgical. I logged back into the laptop, my hands steady. I unlinked her from our shared streaming accounts. I transferred my half of the rent for the next month into the landlord's account with a note that I would be vacating. Then, I opened a browser tab and started searching for apartments. I wasn't looking for a new home. I was looking for an exit strategy. I found a furnished studio available for immediate move-in. It was small, impersonal, and perfect. I sent a deposit via bank transfer within 10 minutes of the virtual tour. That night, I slept on the couch, the emptiness of the bedroom a silent confirmation of my decision. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just stared at the ceiling, the numbness a welcome anesthetic. The pain was there, a vast, dark ocean beneath the ice I was standing on, but for now, the ice was holding. My phone, face up on the coffee table, began to illuminate. The first text came in around 10 p.m. Qley, 10:07 p.m. You're really doing this? You're actually this immature? Fine. I'm not coming back until you apologize for overreacting. I read the words. The anger in them was a shield for her panic. She expected a fight. She expected me to engage, to beg, to plead my case. She was playing a game, and I had just left the stadium. I didn't block her yet. I needed to see the playbook. The next morning, I rented a van. By noon, my clothes, my computer, and the few personal items I cared about were loaded inside. The 6 boxes of Chloe's life were left in the center of the empty living room. I took one last look around, dropped my key on the counter, and closed the door. As I was carrying the last box into my new, sterile studio apartment, my phone buzzed again. Qley, 12:31 p.m. Mark. My key doesn't work. What did you do? Where are my things? The confusion was palpable. She'd gone back, expecting to find a battlefield, and had found a vacuum instead. She was shouting into a void. I pictured her standing outside the apartment, jiggling the key, a knot of genuine fear tightening in her stomach. A part of me, the old part that had loved her, twinged with something like pity. I smothered it. It was a luxury I could no longer afford. I spent the next 2 days building a new routine. The gym at 6 a.m. Work from a coffee shop. Simple meals. The silence of the studio was profound, but it was a clean silence, unpolluted by memories or lies. It was my silence. The third text came late on the second day. The tone had shifted completely. Qley, 11:22 p.m. Please answer me. This is crazy. We need to talk. I'm sorry, okay? I said I'm sorry. The anger and defiance were gone, replaced by a desperate, pleading worry. The word sorry meant nothing now. It was just a key she was trying to use on a lock that no longer existed. She was finally realizing I wasn't playing a game. I had ended it. I read the message one last time. Then I opened her contact, tapped, block this caller, and confirmed. A small, satisfying click in the digital world. The vanisher had officially vanished. The ice beneath my feet felt solid. The ocean of pain was still there, but now, for the first time, I felt like I might actually learn to swim. The silence that followed was the most peaceful I had known in years. It wasn't just the absence of Chloe's voice. It was the absence of anxiety, of walking on eggshells, of wondering if I was enough. My small studio apartment became a sanctuary. I went to work. I went to the gym. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected, like my old college buddy, Dave. The first time we went for a beer, he clapped me on the shoulder. "You look good, man," he said, genuine surprise in his voice. I mean it. Lighter. I was. The weight of being someone's boring safety net had been crushing, and I hadn't even fully realized it. It was Dave, about 6 weeks after the disappearance, who brought the news. We were watching a game at his place when his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, snorted, and looked at me with a raised eyebrow. "You are not going to believe this," he said, shaking his head. "So, you know Sarah's friend, Megan?" I nodded. I remembered Megan. She was part of Qley's circle, a notorious gossip. "Well, Megan's been talking. The story's making the rounds." Dave leaned forward, his voice dropping into a storyteller's cadence. "So, after you ghosted her, our friend Jason, Mr. Vegas, swooped in hard. Saw a vulnerable woman and turned on the charm. Told her she was too vibrant for a soulless corporate drone like you. That she deserved a life of passion and excitement." I took a sip of my beer, saying nothing. The irony was so thick you could cut it. "So," Dave continued, "in what I'm told was a grand romantic gesture, Qley quit her job, just walked out. Told her boss she was moving to Vegas to be with the love of her life." I almost choked. She quit her job? That was the one piece of her life she'd always been fiercely proud of, independent of me. Gone. Packed 2 suitcases and moved into his apartment, which, according to Megan, was a dump he shared with 2 other guys. The exciting life lasted about 3 weeks. Dave's expression was a mix of pity and schadenfreude. Turns out Mr. Exciting didn't actually have a job. The party lifestyle was funded by, well, no one is sure. Credit card debt, probably. He got possessive, jealous. Started yelling at her for talking to other guys at the clubs he insisted they go to every night. The pieces fit together with a sickening perfection. The man she'd traded stability for couldn't even provide stability. The finale? Dave said, finishing his story. He ghosted her. Just like you did to her, but way messier. Last week, he packed a bag while she was out, left the apartment, and blocked her on everything. She came back to find the locks changed. She wasn't on the lease. She was stranded in Vegas with no job, no money, and a non-refundable plane ticket she'd maxed a credit card to buy. Her sister had to wire her money for a hotel until she could get a flight home. I sat back, absorbing the information. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt a distant, clinical sense of confirmation. Her betrayal wasn't a step up to a better life. It was a leap off a cliff, and the rocks at the bottom were exactly what I would have predicted. The exciting guy was, at his core, unstable and unreliable. She had chosen a firework over a hearth, and now she was left in the cold, smelling of sulfur. Dave looked at me, waiting for a reaction. "So? Nothing? Not even a serves her right?" I shook my head. "It doesn't serve me right or wrong, Dave. It just is. Her consequences are hers. They have nothing to do with me anymore." And I meant it. The news was like hearing about a minor character in a movie I'd already walked out of. The plot was irrelevant. The first attempt came a few days later. A text from an unknown number. Unknown number, 10:14 p.m. Mark, it's Qley. "I'm so sorry. I made the biggest mistake of my life. He was a monster. You were right about everything. Can we please just talk? I'm back in town." I read it, felt the faintest echo of an old ache, and then deleted it. I didn't block the number immediately. The vanisher doesn't block. He simply doesn't acknowledge. He is gone. The second attempt came through her sister, Jessica. Her name flashed on my screen, and against my better judgment, I answered. I wanted to set a firm boundary. "Mark, hi." Jessica's voice was clipped, accusatory. "Listen, I know things were bad, but Qley's been through hell. The decent thing to do would be to hear her out. She learned her lesson." I felt a cold spike of anger, but my voice remained calm. "Jessica, her lessons are no longer my concern. Please do not contact me again." I ended the call before she could reply and blocked her number. The flying monkeys were not welcome here. A week of silence passed. I assumed it was over. Then, on a Saturday afternoon, I was working on my laptop at a coffee shop downtown, a place I'd come to love for its strong brew and quiet buzz. I was focused, in the zone, when a shadow fell over my table. I looked up. It was Qley. She looked diminished. The vibrant, confident woman from the kitchen was gone. Her hair was lackluster. Her clothes hung loosely on her, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She managed a weak, trembling smile. "Mark, hi." I didn't smile back. I didn't frown. My expression was neutral, polite, as if a vaguely familiar acquaintance had stopped by. "Qley, Hello. You look good, she said, her voice fragile. She gestured to the empty chair. Can I? I gave a slight, non-committal nod. She sat down, folding her hands on the table like a nervous interviewee. I miss you, she began, the words rushing out. I miss us. What I did was unforgivable, I know. But losing you made me realize what I had. Jason was a lie. A fantasy. You were real. You were always real. I said nothing. I just waited, letting the emptiness of my response hang in the air. Her composure began to crack. Are you just going to sit there? She whispered, a hint of the old anger flashing in her eyes. I'm pouring my heart out. I lost everything because of one stupid mistake. That's when I spoke, my voice low and even, cutting through her self-pity. You didn't lose everything because of a mistake, Qley. You lost me because of a choice. A series of choices, actually. The trip, the lies, the words you used. She stared at me, stunned by my clarity. What happened in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas, I continued, closing my laptop with a soft click. It came home and ended our relationship. You asked me to be happy for your happiness with him. So I removed myself. And in doing that, I found my own happiness. I looked her directly in the eyes, my gaze steady. It just doesn't include you. Tears welled in her eyes, but they no longer had any power over me. They were just water. So that's it, she choked out. After everything? I stood up, sliding my laptop into my bag. I looked down at her, not with hatred, but with a final, profound detachment. I was the realist, stating a simple, irrefutable fact. That was at the moment you decided a stranger in Vegas was more exciting than the life we built. I hope you find what you're looking for, Qley. But my part in your story is over. I picked up my coffee, gave a small, polite nod that was more dismissal than farewell, and walked out of the coffee shop. The bell on the door jingled behind me. I didn't look back. The sun was warm on my face. I took a deep breath of the fresh air, feeling the last ghost of her presence dissolve into nothing. The weight was gone. I was free. I walked down the street, not away from anything, but toward everything that was yet to come. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.